The EastSide Chapter 10. I could hear the loud school bells ringing from West Island High School as I looked upon the large building from across the street. Since the regular school year was in session, there was a lot more students and kids roaming through the crosswalk and standing around loitering as I walked down the concrete walkway. I maneuvered past the kids with my head down, wearing headphones in my ears to block out the sound of loud students. I increased my speed as I walked through the school so I could try to avoid anybody from noticing me, especially Janelle and the rest of the cheerleaders. I did not want to see her at all, so I tried to stay unnoticeable, which was hard being a beast in a heavy Spanish population. I walked up to the receptionist located in front of the sliding doors and asked her for my schedule. 6 hours left in your community service. Congratulations, she said, giving me a wink with her left eye. I just smiled and nodded while removing the sign up sheet from her hand. I quickly signed it and went on my way. I was not in the mood to converse with anyone. I just wanted to finish and go home. Every inch of the off white colored school reminded me of Janelle as I strolled through the long hallway, the same hallway we met. I looked down at my list and saw I had to do only a few things, then I was done. 1. I had to sweep the gymnasium. 2. Refill the paper towels in all the bathrooms. And 3. Take out all the garbage in the school. These were easy tasks, so I thought to myself that I would be able to finish them quickly and just hide in the gym until 6 hours had passed. I pushed open the door to the gymnasium, surprised and slightly upset. It seemed like the entire school was inside. The place was packed to capacity, and the loud music from the DJ made it very hard to hear. The students were cheering loudly as they waved their purple and white towels around while standing on the bleachers and around the court floor, but leaving a large space in the middle. I noticed Miss Vega standing with a couple of other faculty members by the bleachers, so I approached her and said, "Hello, Miss Vega." She turned around quickly and gave me a smile once she realized who I was. "Oh, the sleeper," she said jokingly. "Yeah, that's me. What's going on here?" I asked, looking around at the crowd. "It's our pep rally. We are getting ready for homecoming," she answered. "Homecoming?" I questioned. "Yep, it's a large show. It's probably going to last for an hour. Oh, and here comes the cheerleaders," she said, pointing toward the center of the court. Her statement placed a cold chill down my spine as I stood there shocked, watching all the girls in the purple and white cheerleading uniforms running through a space in the crowd toward the center of the court. The DJ switched the music and announced the arrival of the girls. The girls started cheering, trying to hype up the crowd, and of course, the one leading them was Janelle. I tried to turn away quickly, but I noticed her looking right at me in shock as I gave her the same look. She quickly snapped out of her trance of seeing me and continued to stay focused on her routine. I hated her at that moment, but even I could admit that she looked beautiful. I couldn't look at her anymore, so I stormed out of the gym as quickly as I could. I left the noise of the crowded gym and music behind me as I busted out of the gymnasium doors. I leaned against the wall, looking toward the ceiling, wondering what I should do in this awkward situation. I removed the list from my pocket to review it again and decided to do my other tasks instead to avoid seeing Janelle for the rest of the evening. I dreaded the thought of seeing her because of the embarrassment I felt from that night under her windowsill. I had never opened myself to anyone like that before. I was never the type to express my feelings and put all of my cards out on the table like that. Not even for Shantae. I put all of my emotions out into the open, and she shot me down like a bird. thoughts of that evening kept bringing a discomfort to the pit of my stomach, like a thorn pressing slightly against my abdomen. The feeling made it difficult to breathe, so I used my imagination to take my mind off it. I just swore to myself that I would never feel like that again. Not for her, not for anybody. A couple of hours passed, and I could hear the crowd of students draining from the large gym. I remained in the stall, wiping the bathroom walls, as the noise diminished from many to just a few. I just finished in time to hear silence again throughout the narrow hall, so I guided the mop and bucket out of the light blue tiled walls of the restroom. I crept out of the boys' room and looked inside the gym to see that everyone had left. So I walked in and set the bucket on the side of the bleachers to bend over to tie my shoe when I overheard two girls talking. I pressed my ears against the wood of the shiny brown bleachers to get a better listen to the girls' conversation. I could not get a clear understanding of the words between the two girls, just a distortion of it. "They'll never let us be together," said a voice from a distance. "Just tell him," uttered the other girl. "I can't. Let's just drop it," said the first girl. "Okay," replied the second. Suddenly, the wood began to rattle because of the steps of the two girls walking down to the gym floor. I crept down the side of the bleachers to get a better look at who was speaking. I stayed low, so the height of the wooden bleachers would hide my appearance. I began to lift my head up over the wood, then suddenly I was startled by the appearance of a freckled faced girl with black curly hair. "Ah!" I jumped up, surprised by her presence appearing out of nowhere. "Oh my God, Jay! You scared me," Jasmine said, holding onto her chest. "I scared you," I said, still shocked and confused by her statement. "You came out of nowhere." "Oh, I was on top of the bleachers talking to—" She paused for a moment. "With who?" I asked. Just another cheerleader," she said, looking toward the other gymnasium door across the court suspiciously. "Oh, okay. Well, it was good seeing you. I'm just gonna go finish this stuff up so I can leave." "Excuse me," I said, grabbing the bucket and mop, attempting to walk past her. "Janelle really is sorry, though," Jasmine said as I walked away toward the center of the court. Her words made me stop, and I turned my head back to her. "Yeah, I bet she is," I said seriously and full of animosity. She walked up to me and placed her hand on my arm. She wouldn't have done what she did unless she thought it was the best choice for everyone. I nodded my head, absorbing the information, but still with a sarcastic look over my face. "Well, I'm glad that everybody is happy with their choice." "It was good seeing you, Jasmine," I said again, trying to remove myself from her company. "Listen, Jay," she said again, trying to stop me from leaving. She does care about you. She just doesn't want to see you get hurt." "Get hurt? By what? Or whom? What are you talking about?" I asked, confused. "I can't say," she said, looking down at her feet. "I promise not to." "Jazz, if there's something that I should know, you both owe it to me to let me in on the little secret." I, I, she stuttered. "Come on, Jasmine," I pleaded. "I'm sorry, Jay," she said sincerely. "Well, that seems to be the theme around this part of the city. I just want to finish cleaning this place so I can get the hell out of here. So unless you have something to actually say to me, I think this conversation has reached its end. Goodbye," I said, turning my back to her to begin mopping. Jasmine began. "Jay, if she has something that she has to say to me, let her tell it to me. Last time she spoke to me, she told me that she was staying with Christian and for me not to contact her anymore. Anything you say won't matter because that's all I'm going to remember," I said, upset. She let out a large sigh, began to walk away, then eventually out of the gymnasium. I mopped the entire court with a vigorous vengeance. I could only feel irate the rest of the evening. My anger grew with time as my hurt started to become blinded fury. I did not mean to speak to Jasmine with such force, but I became mad at the world. I became bitter. A metaphorical brick wall was being formed around my skin, and any vulnerability I had left inside my body was gone. My thoughts became harsh, my cool became heat, and my heart became cold. It felt like the good I had left in my body had left with Janelle. We spoke in the hospital many times about my future, and she had actually convinced me to think about going to college for a business degree so I could run Pop's shop more efficiently. But they were just dreams. No college would accept a beast like me. I thought she would be the reason I would attempt to do better, but I saw now that I was just fooling myself, and she was fooling me. I finished my duties quickly and went to the front to see the receptionist to request an early departure. Hey, I said, placing the list on her counter. All done. I know it's a few hours earlier, but it's okay, she interrupted. Your instructor came in and signed you out already. She said you can just take this form to your probation officer and you'll be all set. Really? I said, looking around to see if Janelle was still in the lobby, then back down on the white piece of paper with her signature on the bottom of it. Well, thank you. You're welcome, she said with a smile as I walked out of the door. I hurried toward the bus station, knowing that this would be the last trip to West Island High School I would ever take. I was ecstatic that I was finally done with this nightmare, but that was only what I thought. I placed a piece of paper in my jean pocket and headed toward the bus stop. I rode the entire trip back to the east side with my arms crossed and a frustrated look on my face, thinking about this entire fiasco with Janelle, Christian, and the west side. I wanted revenge on Christian for hurting my body and on Janelle for hurting my heart. I began thinking about the gun that I had sitting up in my dresser drawer at home and even visualized using it on Christian and his boys. I had never shot a gun before and had never even contemplated using one, but I was just so angry that it was beginning to cloud any judgment I had. I was always such a cool and calm person, but now I walked with a chip on my shoulder and was slowly becoming a person that did not care about anything, especially love. I reached my apartment complex and pulled out a small joint of marijuana from my pocket and began to light it while I was walking through the parking lot. Normally, I would wait until I got home to smoke anything, out of respect for my neighbors, but today I really didn't care. I had finally reached my apartment building and tossed the finished joint into the grass and walked up my steps to be surprised by an unexpected guest standing in front of my apartment door. Pops? I asked, confused. What are you doing here? Oh, Jahvon! He greeted me with a hug. I was worried about you. You haven't returned any of my calls, so I figured I would stop by and see if you were feeling better. Oh, I'm fine, I said, brushing past him with an attitude to get to the door and place my keys in the lock hole. I still had some animosity toward him as well for filling my head with all of his fairy tales and making me believe that love was real. Are you okay, son? You seem troubled, he asked, concerned. I'm fine, I said, entering the house as he followed. Are you sure? He asked again while sniffing my clothes. Have you been smoking? I stayed silent while looking into the refrigerator for some food. Jahvon, you know that marijuana's already got you in trouble? You know better than to be doing that type of stuff in the streets. It's why you got probation in the first place. he lectured. Is there something I can help you with, Pops? I asked with an attitude. Yes, there is. You can tell me why you haven't been returning any of my calls. I thought we were supposed to be partners, he said sincerely. Yeah, well, I've been healing up, so I did not feel like talking to anybody. And I'm working with Rich now, so you have to find another partner, I said, walking toward my room. What? Pops exclaimed while grabbing my arm, turning me around. What are you talking about? Rich offered me a job with him at the shop, so I'm taking it. It's more money and better than being in your old raggedy shop, I said, pushing him away from me and going back toward my room. Money? This is about more than money. You never been about making decisions based on money. What is going on with you? I rushed into my room and closed the door behind me, and locked it. I opened my dresser drawer and grabbed the heavy gun from inside and placed it in my jeans, then used my shirt to cover it. I heard Pops knocking on the door, trying to get my attention. I opened the door and pushed past him again to go back toward the kitchen. This isn't like you, Jay. You're acting different. Just talk to me, he pleaded, following me. I think we've talked enough, old man. I'm done listening to your lectures. The only reason I went to that party was because of your advice, I blurted. You're blaming me? I did not know that girl you liked lived on the west side. Besides, I thought you'd won her heart anyway, he said, trying to figure out the situation. I looked away from him and stared at the window, thinking about her deception. Oh, I know that look. You lost her, Pop said, understanding my facial expressions. I never had her. It was all a lie. Everything she told me was a lie, and everything you told me was an even bigger lie. I should have never listened to you, I said, frustrated. I understand you're hurting. Selling your soul to the devil out of anger and emotion is not the way. That is the real deceiver. Satan takes many forms, but he will always be a deceiver. I have told you nothing but the truth, Jay. Enough! I don't want to hear it anymore, I interrupted. What? You think working for your evil spawn of a cousin will bring her back to you? Huh? It will heal your little wounds? He asked furiously. Easy, Pops, I warned. What? You're the one acting like a child, having a temper tantrum because you didn't get what you wanted. Love hurts, I know, but this isn't the way to solve it. You are angry because those boys put their hands on you, but they will get their due. God will enact revenge for you. I promise you that. God's revenge will be less severe than mine, I said. Oh, so you a bad man now? Pops asked, trying to look into my eyes as I kept trying to move away from him. I've known a lot of bad men, and I've known a lot of dead men. I promise, this ain't the way to live your life. Why don't you just come back to the shop? I can't. It's too late now. I work for Juice. Excuse me, I said to him while trying to leave the house to go to Juice's shop. Damn it, boy! Don't be an idiot! He said, grabbing my shirt and turning me around. When he did, the gun accidentally fell to the floor. I stood there shocked that I was exposed while carrying such a weapon. Pop stared at it for a moment, then picked it up. Oh, so now I see, he said, staring at the contraption with a grin. You think this makes you tough? Give it back, I said, reaching for the 9mm handgun as Pops pulled it away from me. You think this makes you tough, Jahvon? Then you have a lot to learn about being tough. I held guns in my youth, and I've learned back then that this doesn't make you tough. It makes you a coward. It doesn't take any strength to get loud and wave a gun around. It doesn't take strength to pull back your little finger. It takes strength to fight fist to fist. A real man does not hide behind a weapon because the real power is in the decision you make not to use one. To walk among a whole population of men with guns and be the only one that knows he doesn't need one. That is courage. That is what being a man is about, Pops explained. Oh, be a man? What? Like you? Old, broke, in a dying shop that no one even goes to anymore? I snapped. That's not you talking. Someone made you believe that I am a loser, that I'm broke, that I have nothing to live for because they themselves are jealous. That's what's wrong with your whole generation. You're blind. Not because you can't see, it's because you choose not to see. I don't have a bunch of women running around being some jive pimp, sleeping in different women's beds, because all those women will not be there when times truly get tough. Only one woman will be there when I need her to be, and that is a blessing. I don't have a bunch of money that I can throw around so I can feel better about myself, because that is for people with low self esteem. And I'm as confident as any man could be. And that is a blessing. I don't walk around with guns in my pocket, ready for someone to just say something I don't like so I can prove to them that I'm tough, because that is a person that really hates themselves. And I love me, Jay. Wake up! You're told that you're not good enough every day on the radio, on the TV, and by your peers, so you believe it. And all you do is become another crab in the bucket. You're special, Jay. Nobody wants you to shine because you're special. So they want you to be hateful like them. I'm gonna give this back to you because you're old enough to make your own decision. Just remember, that doesn't make you a man. He handed me the gun. I looked down at the gun in my hand after absorbing everything he was saying. That makes you a real man, he said, pointing to his chest to indicate that he was referring to his heart. Just remember that. When you're standing over your enemies, or they are lying there in a pool of blood, he was not just your enemy. He was somebody's son, father, uncle, or brother. I understand that you have to protect yourself, but the best weapon you have is your mind and your will. Goodbye, Jahvon. Remember that the doors of Pop's garage is always open. He ended his speech and walked out of the apartment. I sat down on the chair in the kitchen and placed the gun on the table and began to stare at it in full concentration. I thought about Pop's words for a moment, but quickly awoke from my daze. The old man was just rambling, I thought to myself, and swiped the gun from the table and placed it in my jeans before walking out of the apartment's door. I later stepped down from the steps of the green and blue colored bus onto the concrete. The bus continued as I stared at the rundown complex. There was a black sign that had East Harbor printed on it in gold lettering. The sign was in the front of the building. All the homes were aged and poorly made. Each house was barricaded by a dark steel fence, a small gate in the center. The living room spaces were small, and the bedrooms were even smaller. Most of the people sat outside their home conversing, while the kids rode their bikes around to get some freedom from the small living spaces. The old men played dominoes, while the young men smoked, listened to music, or sat in their cars talking to females. I walked past, but no one seemed to notice me. I wasn't a stranger to them. Everybody knew that I was Juice's cousin. Everybody knew Juice. I walked up to the garage and found Juice and his two large friends reading what looked like a map. The garage door was open, so I walked right in and greeted them. Rich, what's up? I asked curiously. Cousin, what's up, man? I thought you said you weren't coming in today, he said with a smile. Yeah, I wasn't doing much else, so I decided to start a little early, I responded. An overachiever. Good. Come over here, man. I want to show you something, he said, waving his hand toward himself as I followed his directions. He placed his arms around me and guided me toward an old 1989 Cadillac with its front hood open. He pointed inside and continued. It won't start. We tried charging the battery, but the power won't stay on, and it just shuts off again. It's probably an alternator problem, or the wiring might be loose. Did you check the power on the battery? I suggested while placing my head under the hood so I could review the battery in the car. Did I check the power on the battery? He said sarcastically while laughing and patting me on my back. Ha! You hear this guy, Dre? We got a regular old Joe mechanic over here. I knew you'd be worth having around. Cool. I want you to check out the caddy while Dre and I go to the shop. I thought this was the shop, I asked, confused. He and his friend began to laugh. Nah, this raggedy piece of ass? Hell nah. The real shop's down on East Cardinal. This is just our chop shop, where we break cars down for parts and fix some cars up for the people in the neighborhood. But the money makers on the strip. Oh, okay, I said, absorbing the information. Cool. We heading out. I have an extra jumpsuit for you in the back office. Here are the keys, Rich said, handing me a set of keys. Use the big one to lock up when you leave, and use a small one for the office. I didn't see you pull up. Where's your car? Over on the west side. I couldn't get it to start for some reason. I took the bus, I explained. The bus? Ha! He asked. Nah, it will take too long for you to get here every day. Yo, Kayleen, pull out the bike for Jahvon. His friend nodded his head and went to the side of the garage and pulled out a white and black Suzuki from the shadows. Ride my bike until you get your car fixed. We'll tow it tomorrow, he said, rolling the bike toward me. You know how to ride, right? Yeah, I said, excited. Pops taught me how to ride. Pops. Rich began to look at me confused because of my sudden expression of sadness from my guilt of talking to Pop so harshly earlier. Are you okay? Rich asked. Yeah, I'm fine, I said, shaking the feelings from my head. Thanks, cuz. Welcome, man. Hey, do you still have that piece I gave you? He asked, patting me on my back while I lifted my shirt to expose the gun. He smiled, then said, Good. I like how you follow directions. Just keep doing that. You will do well in my business. You passed the first two tests. And now, there's one last test before you can be an official member. What is that? I asked, curiously. He gave me a sly grin and looked back at his friend. When the time comes, we will discuss it. We are going to get out of here. Don't forget to lock up. I'll see you tomorrow. I nodded my head in agreement and watched them walk out of the large garage that was full of car parts and climbed inside an all-black shiny Escalade truck and drove away. I then went into the clean office to look for an extra pair of overalls that Rich had spoken of. I searched the cream-colored medium-sized office and looked through the soft couch and behind the large wooden desk. I turned to see the overalls hanging from the door, so I changed my clothes and grabbed some tools to start working on the car. I had been working on the car for around 2 hours, and I could feel the sweat dripping down my face onto the hot engine. I could hear someone creeping up behind me while my head was placed under the hood. I figured it was probably Rich coming back for something, but I was sadly mistaken. I suddenly felt the person get closer to me, so I quickly turned around in complete surprise. Shantae? I blurted out. Don't look too excited to see me, she said sarcastically, offended by my initial reaction. Shantae? I asked again, still not believing my eyes. What are you doing here? I heard you was out here in the slums working with your cousin. I had to see it for myself, she said humbly while standing next to the car in a jean skirt and a tight white t-shirt. My cousin lives in East Harbor, and I was visiting her. She told me that she's seen you walk through here lately. So I just wanted to come by and see how you were doing. I began to wipe my forehead with a towel, removing myself from under the car, and leaned against the wall. Oh, yeah? Well, I just started working for Juice. What about Pop Shop? Used to love working there. Things change, I said seriously. I heard about you being in the hospital too. I wanted to go see you, but I did not think you wanted to see me. I'm sorry. I just nodded. Who jumped you? That Spanish girl from the reggae fest? Her boyfriend and some goons, I answered. I told you about those mommies. They're trouble, Jay. I didn't like that bitch no way, Shantae exclaimed, which made us laugh. Well, I'm gonna go, but it was good seeing you. I do still miss you. I'm still very sorry about everything. She began to walk away as I watched her booty press against the tight fabric of the jean skirt. I can't truly explain my next actions. My feelings for Shantae were over, but the way she looked that day intrigued me. Plus, I don't think I had truly ever really forgiven her for her treachery at that point. I suddenly grabbed her arm and pulled her close to my body until we were chest to chest. She stared at me. She was surprised by my actions, but she did not resist my advances. I looked deep into her eyes and said calmly with a deep voice, You're not really sorry. I am, Jay, I swear, she said, staring back at me. You lied before. Why should I believe you now? I asked, gripping her arm tighter. Because I am, Jay. I always loved you, she said, stroking my face with her hand. You love me? I whispered. Then prove it. I stared at her angrily, thinking about all of her deception and her lies. I felt animosity toward her for cheating on me, and I wanted payback for her using me when I had real feelings toward her, just like Janelle, just like my mom. I slowly pressed my lips against hers, and she returned my kiss by placing her tongue in my mouth while caressing my face. We kissed before plenty of time, but not like this. This time, it was completely animalistic and aggressive. I was acting completely out of character, but at that moment, did not care because I knew I did not love her anymore. This was complete lust. I then quickly turned her back toward me and pushed her front against the side of the car. I gripped her neck with my hands while pressing my body against her back, whispering aggressively in her ear. Are you? Are you really sorry? I swiftly pulled down her boy shorts and pressed the front side of her body against the window while carefully pulling her waist toward me. I aggressively kissed her neck as she moaned. I gripped her hair in my hands and gently pulled it back as her head began to face the ceiling. She stuttered, trying to get her words out, but could not gather her sentences correctly because of the surprise feeling that had taken over her body. I removed the condom from my wallet and placed it underneath my belly button. Her stutters became calls of my name as I penetrated her. I had never been so aggressive with Shantae before. I can't even explain what came over me. It felt like the anger I had for her at the time resurfaced, and I wanted to cast my revenge at that moment by completely controlling the situation. Her screams carried through the entire garage and maybe even the neighborhood. Every stroke from my hips were powerful and direct. The whole scene felt like it was moving so fast, not like that passionate night I had with Janelle. I explored Janelle's entire body. It felt as if we were one, and our souls were connected. It was the best I had ever had, and suddenly I could feel my thoughts drifting toward Janelle. I was with someone else, but I still wished to be with her only. I started to feel guilty about my actions, even though she was with Christian. I felt like I was doing her wrong by being with Shantae at that moment. The guilt started to cover my entire mind, and all I could think about was how wrong this was. And I suddenly removed myself from Shantae, breathing heavily. This is wrong, I said, pushing her away, still out of breath and feeling ashamed. What? What is wrong? She said, pulling up her underwear that were lying around her ankles. This. We shouldn't be doing this, I said, looking down at my feet. It's okay, Jahvon. I miss you, and I want to be with you. We are meant to be together, she said, trying to convince me. She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the office while closing the door behind us. We sat on the couch as she sat on top of me and said while facing me, this is how it's supposed to end. I stayed silent as we explored each other's bodies for the rest of the day and all through the night, feeling ashamed the entire time.